Hey ho, I'm back. Okay. Now, research that you're already familiar with as musicians is historical research. If you think about the kind of papers of research that you had to do for music history classes or composition kinds of classes, this gives you a good idea of what historical research is in education. For example, you could write a bibliographical study of a very successful teacher that had been previously in your school district. You could also track a policy or a trend, such as tracking the offerings of different kinds of ensembles, such as orchestra or jazz band or show choirs that have emerged or decreased over time in school districts. Now, in historical research, in this type of research, the researcher, you, is not part of the data. And the research can't influence the data. The data is all things that happened in the past, and you're merely finding them and uncovering them. The researcher has an outsider's view of all these events. The researcher also cannot change the course of events because they've already happened in the past. Now, the researcher can't change the course of events, but the researcher certainly can give the lessons, give the research her perspective to events and how they unfolded. The researcher can also choose to include some data and not in other cases. The researcher can do whatever she wants to support that idea. The resulting perspective in historical research that would come from either using one kind of data or another kind of data or excluding data or looking at just certain events is the bias in historical research. Historical research, our first type of research. The second kind of research that we're going to talk about today is a type of descriptive research. Descriptive research is a lot like historical research insofar that it just is kind of telling what's going on. It's not trying to change anything, it's just saying this happened. But in descriptive research, it often focuses on the present day and oftentimes is very timely. Descriptive research doesn't really intend to change anything. It's just recording what's happening, and then that record can be used to influence its decisions one way or another. A very, very common kind of descriptive research is survey. Chances are good you have all taken some survey, some way, shape, or form, somewhere. Anytime you've taken a survey, you have participated. Actually, you have been a subject in descriptive research. And that idea of being a subject or being a participant is very, very interesting as well. When you read through abstracts and you see that they had X amount of subjects, that tells you something about the bias of that study. If you see something and it says they had this many participants in the study, that also gives you insight into the kind of study it is. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, so descriptive research is intended to describe a phenomenon, and it can demonstrate certain biases through the kinds of questions that are asked, the type of answers that are solicited to a question, and the conclusions that are drawn from data collection. The researcher asking the questions always has an agenda. Always. There's never something that's open. They never just say, tell me how you're doing. It's not an interview. It's a survey. They have picked the questions and they have an agenda that drive those questions. It's either overt or tacit. And that data will support or undermine that agenda. The construction of a survey will influence the data collected. For example, and this is a completely mythical survey that I've never actually participated in, but imagine, if you will. I could participate in a survey that asks me questions about my snacking habits. It may be that the choices of snacks that I have to choose from the survey include cookies, cake, candy, chewing gum, and pie. This, by the way, would be a delicious survey. Now, as a subject in this study, I don't have any control over the kinds of questions that are being asked of me. Nor do I have any control over the kinds of answers I can give. I mean, it's cookies, cakes, candy, chewing gum, pie. Those are my 5 choices. It might be that I don't like to snack on any of these things. It might be that I want anchovies, carrots, almonds, cheese, and celery. And those are my snacks of choice. But I'm stuck, either choosing from the snacks suggested or opting out of the survey altogether. This survey could also ask me opinion questions along the lines of, out of the following snack choices, which promotes the best dental health? And it can give me the same list, candy, cake, what was my list? Candy, cake, cookies, chewing gum, and pie. The survey may also ask me demographic information, such as my level of education, my geographic location, my annual income, my marital status, and the like. Now, based on the questions in this survey so far, it will be determined that I am a mother, I live in the eastern part of the US, I have a doctorate, and that I think chewing gum promotes the best dental health out of the choices provided. Let's say that 100 people took this survey, and 20 of them were mothers. Out of those 20 moms, 16 of them chose pie as the best snacking option for dental health, because let's face it, pie has more fruit than sugar, and gum gets in the kids' hair. Moms like pie. Ergo, the survey might have as a finding, 80% of mothers prefer pie as the snack food of choice. And that's a finding from the survey. Let's also say that out of the 100 people who took the survey, 5 of them had doctorates. Out of those 5, 4 of them chose chewing gum as the preferred snack for dental health. Now, the survey can say 4 out of 5 doctors say chewing gum promotes good dental health. I'm a mom, and I'm a doctor, and nuts are my snacks of choice. But the data of the survey will not reflect this. The data will spin whatever agenda the survey has. Now, so lots of surveys will also gather opinions through Likert scales. And you've seen Likert scales. It's on a scale of 1 to 5, on a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of never to always. All of those are types of Likert scales. L-I-K-E-R-T. Likert. Like it or not, it's a Likert scale. This is a numeric or sometimes pictorial. If you think about when you go to the hospital and there are those pain scales of the smiley faces and rate your pain. It is a numeric or pictorial scale that measures a continuum of an opinion. The scale could be as narrow as yes or no, which would be a dichotomous choice, or it could be as wide as maybe like a 10-point scale. Now, the wider the scale, the less precise the answer is going to be. Because really, what is the difference between 9, which might be like you really, really agree, and a 10, which is absolutely agree with every single thing on the list? Not a huge amount. Also, if you have an odd number scale in your Likert, that gives the subject the choice of being completely neutral about something. They can take the middle number and not be one side or the other. While an even numbered scale forces somebody to be on one side of the fence or the other. There's no not making a choice. If a researcher doesn't want to deal with a neutral position on anything, she will construct a survey with an even-numbered choice. Likewise, if the research wants to force a strong opinion one way or another, she will use a narrow range of numbers. Surveys are used a lot, and there's a reason surveys are used a lot. They're easy to construct and implement, they provide quick results that can be easily crunched with computer programs, and they can, by design, narrow the data topics to only a few certain topics in a few certain ways. And we're going to end there. We've talked about historical research and survey research.